Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everybody. How are you today? Good. I don't see many students here. Right. Today, I'm going to surprise you and slow down the class. I know that we're expected to have Sydney, but the other, seems like we have to slow down here in order to give time for other classes to catch up. So it's our chance today to look back again at rhyme, rhythm, and some areas in the critical plan. But before we start, as usual, I need somebody to read a report. Yes?
Hate you, Mr. Report. At the beginning of my report, let me begin with admission that I hate writing reports, even though I like that class of poetry. Feeling that you have nothing to write about feeling that you have nothing write about feeling makes me hate the assignment of writing a report. But I like writing response because it is at least has a theme or idea to work on and write about. To talk about last lecture, it was enjoyable that I didn't feel the time passing us. It was a nice lecture to learn about metaphor, irony, and image. After I just know little about them, I feel that those figures are the heart of poetry, that there is no poem without a figurative language. That enhances and strengthens the idea of the poet. Learning the way to use it makes our joy to use such language in our everyday language to express our gladness, sadness, and even sarcastic everyday life situations.
Good, thank you. I do agree sometimes it gets a boring process to write a report, and here comes the creativity. When you don't know what you are going to write about, so you might look for a hook, you might find very interesting hook, and then you write report. So the report is to get you to write, and don't forget this is the bonus mark. It's not one of the official assignment, so you don't have to complain, but it's okay. You can do that, but I need you to write. Okay, let's see another report. Yes, please.
Daily report. Description of spring was so nice. It was the title of the previous one. The previous lecture was extremely surprised. Also, the lecture was gentle and kind. I tried continuously to make up my mind and decide either to share or to be in a side. Although the lecturer was in a good mood, the students were worried and wanted to conclude. He asked the questions and students replied, but because of the hot day, they will nearly fly. Finally, we finished and the teacher said, you should be prepared, increase your effort a little bit.
Okay, clap for her. This is yours. Okay, look here. This is an example of creativity. But let me choose, you want this is randomly to make sure everybody's writing.
Sometimes it's weird how time passes so fast. It was just like yesterday when Dr. Akram asked us to write a daily report, and I remember how confused I was. But now all my fears disappeared. Now I know how to write a daily report and how to write a response. It is unbelievable that we already finished 2 poems and about to start the 3rd. I'm so excited to take a poem by Sir Philip Sidney because I've heard that he is a very talented poet.
Good, thank you very much. And we have to clap for her as well. It doesn't mean that we don't like what Rowan said, but it's okay. Right. Today I thought it would be nice to go through 2 important elements, more specifically 2 more I mean, elements of poetry, the rhyme and the rhythm. And then later, like, we might go back to part 2 of the critical plan. I think, you know, we have taken 2 poems. We spoke about rhyme in general. But today, I'll take you to be more specific to talk about rhyme. Because we have many types of rhyme. You might have said or read that. As you see here, there are many types of rhyme. We have perfect rhyme. No perfect rhyme. We have imperfect rhyme. Sorry. Perfect rhyme, imperfect rhyme, masculine rhyme, feminine rhyme, I rhyme, para rhyme. Okay, this is more specific. I think most of you, like those who read their reports, were writing, poetic lines using perfect rhyme. Perfect rhyme, as you see, this is an example of perfect rhyme. It is like a rhyme which has almost the same sound, Like this is in Spencer, help me to blaze her worthy praise. Like he was praising the queen, and like you see blaze and praise, almost the same sound. Okay? So we call this perfect rhyme. And another example, I saw Phoebus thrust out his golden head upon her to gaze, but when he saw how broad her beams did spread, so spread and head. So this is perfect rhyme. Now we might ask when poets use perfect rhyme or when they use imperfect rhyme. Sometimes in certain poems, you should stick to perfect rhyme. However, poets might variate between perfect and imperfect according, to their attitude, the atmosphere of the poem. Perhaps they want to, criticize or they want to praise. So using the rhyme, like each poet uses like the rhyme that fits with the topic, the subject matter, okay? And we cannot now, for sure say this rhyme serves this purpose. It is according to the poem. Sometimes, you have perfect rhyme and suddenly the poet changes into imperfect rhyme. Like you don't have this harmony, perhaps because there is no harmony in the experience of the poet. See what I mean? I remember in Wilfred Owen, Futility, he was using imperfect rhyme, he was using I rhyme. And why? Because he saw no pattern in life, so he did not want to commit himself to any pattern of poetry. So, why would a poet use this rhyme? This depends on the poem itself. Okay, so I think these are... again here in Epithalamion. Epithalamion is a poem written by Spencer to describe his, it is a matrimony, poem. Matrimony, wedding. It was to describe his wedding. It is a beautiful one. Epithalamion, if you have time to read it, just go and read it. So, now we'll go to another time of rhyme, which is imperfect rhyme. Imperfect rhyme, you see, it doesn't have the same sound. Like you hear, you see, also in the same poem of Spencer, you have, though hidden peril round about me placed, yet hope I will that when this storm is past. So what do you think? Placed and past. Placed and past. They're not almost Yeah, there is something similar, but it is not a perfect rhyme. So this is what imperfect rhyme. Again, why would they use this? This depends on the poem, the theme of the poem itself. Then comes number 3, masculine rhyme. It's very funny, huh? Masculine rhyme. There is a rhyme which is masculine. And masculine rhyme, like, as you see here, this is, from the Solitary Reaper, I think. The Solitary Reaper, Wordsworth, when he says, I listened motionless and still, and as I mounted up the hill, the music in my heart I bore, long after it was heard no more. Look here, still and hill, bore and more. If you look at the words, how many syllables do we have in this word? 1 syllable. So when the rhyming words like are monosyllabic, like this is called, masculine rhyme. It's a masculine rhyme. It is 1 syllable. It's not like, more than 1 syllable. It seems like this is very, tough, but this is like an example of masculine rhyme. Of course, when we talk about masculine, we should talk about feminine, because if we call this as masculine, there should be feminine, But somebody might say, okay, masculine means tough, and feminine means, like flexible and, more lenient. Feminine rhyme is the opposite. Of course, these are your in reader. You can follow them. They are in the pamphlet. Again, Wordsworth, as if her song, it's in the same. So he was, in that poem, variating between masculine rhyme and feminine rhyme. And in fact, if you read the Solitary Reaper, I was teaching the Solitary Reaper in other courses. In that poem, Wordsworth, I don't know, it seems like he was challenging the conventions of the time, the past convention. And he was romantic, but in this poem, he was using neoclassical. He was using poetic diction. So he was variating with, the diction itself, with the images. Sometimes, some of the images, like I behold her single, behold. This is like very poetic. And then, would anybody tell me what she's singing? So he was moving from formal to informal, from poetic diction. And even the rhyme, he is, in the same poem, he's variating in the rhyme. Why he was doing this? Some critics say because he wanted to challenge, he wanted like to ridicule those, okay? So this depends on the poem. If you look here, as if her song could have no ending, I saw her singing at her work, and over the sickle bending. So if you look at ending and bending, they are 2 syllables. They have almost the same sound, and this, this rhyme called feminine rhyme. Okay? Then I rhyme. I rhyme. I rhyme, very deceptive. You look at them, like here, some never advance a judgment of their own, but catch the spreading notion of the town. So if you look at them, they seem to have the rhyme. But if you read them, yeah, they, do not have the same sound. I think the final one is para rhyme. Para, it's not like, as you see, it's a rhyme in which you have the same consonants. But, the inside vowels are different. So if you look at this, I seem that out of the bottle I escaped, down some profound dull tunnel I long since scooped, then through grains which Titanic wars, had groined, yet also the encumbered sleepers groaned. So what do you see? Escaped and scoped. We have the same consonant, but different vowel. So para, it is not completely, it is not complete. It is semi, semi-rhyme, like it, because it has, similar consonants, but different vowels. And this is, again, called para rhyme. Okay, so the poems we are studying, have rhyme, and each rhyme, for example, in the sonnet of like Sir Thomas Wyatt, the rhyme was fitting the sonnet. He was governed by the sonnet. It was A, if you remember, B, B, A, B, B, A, C, D, C, D, and E, E. So he was governed, but we said, like, when he chose word like ein, behind, we had, like, that long vowel, and it has to do with his, suffering and agony. Okay? So in the sonnet, you are governed by certain rhyme, but you have the freedom to play which words to choose. Which words to choose. But rhyme is very important. Sometimes we might, have, or we might have a good and a better understanding of the poem because of a rhyme thing. The rhyme, it's sometimes they employ it to express certain feelings. Again, in Wilfred Owen, when he was shocked by, the tragedies of the war, he didn't use the perfect rhyme. He used I rhyme. He used like imperfect rhyme, para rhyme. So there was no pattern in the poem, and he did that deliberately in order to correlate, like this with his, the horror, his experience of disappointment because of the horror of the war itself. So sometimes there is kind of, the rhyme resonates with the meaning of the poem. Okay? Now, we'll go to a problematic area, which is the rhythm. And some of you are disturbed because of the rhythm, and they think, this is too much for us. I'm not teaching you scansion or neither prosody in this course, but it's very important to know the meters and to know, like, certain feet and how they function. Because sometimes, again, in certain poems, mainly in Shakespeare, he plays with rhythm in order to suit perhaps an attitude, or to fit with a tone, or the general atmosphere of the poem. And we are going to see that in one or two of his sonnets. So let's see what is like rhythm. If you remember at the beginning of the course, we spoke about rhythm when we defined poetry. And here, like, these are the feet, in English poetry. As we said, most of the English poetry, 80-70% of the English poetry is written in iambic pentameter. So iamb is like this, 2 syllables. As you see, repeat. The word repeat, what is the stress? Is it on the first or the second? Yeah, it's the longer one. Repeat, 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 So it is very long. We saw this also in, Henry Howard poem last time. and thus I see among these pleasant things. It was iambic pentameter. But forget about pentameter. Like this is iamb. It's called iamb. If you have, this pattern in the poem, like repeat, meet, seat, etc. You have, this is iamb. Now, the opposite of it, it's called trochee or trochee. One of them either. And it is like never. Huh? Never. Like, look here, never. Where is the stress? It's on the first one. Clever. Never. Huh? Better. Okay, these are, this is a trochee. It's the opposite of, yes. The anabast, okay, the anabast is, similar to the iambic, but you have, sorry. Okay. I have to go back. The anabast is like too unstressed and then stressed, like interrupt, corrupt. You see? I think you are studying stress with Dr. Waleed. Okay. And Dr. Khader, like teaching you like this. So you can make use of them in understanding the rhyme. Okay. Then you have something called dactyl. Dactyl, as, it's like trochee, but instead of stressed, you have stressed and too unstressed, like Washington. Wasting, It's like, as you see, one stressed, two stressed. Then you have spondee, like this is accented, like you don't have, it is like two words or two stressed syllables together. Heartbreak, heartbreak, Then you have pyrrhic, like it is, too unstressed, like as in the top of the mount, the morning, in the top of morning, like too unstressed, Now we say monometer, diameter. Why? Because sometimes, if we look at the line of poetry, we might find iambic repeated like this, never ever. So what should I say? This is iambic what? Iambic monometer or dimeter? Huh? Dimeter, because it has two. It has two. So we say dimeter, trimeter, monometer, dimeter, pentameter, like it is according like to the repetition. So here you have 1 foot is called what? Monometer. 2 foot diameter. 2 feet. 3 feet trimeter. 4 feet tetrameter. 5 penta. That's why we said like pentameter. Most of English poetry is written in pentameter, which is very musical. Then hexameter, 6 feet. Then heptameter, 7 feet. And I think here you have some example. Like this is an example, of iambic pentameter. Can anybody read this? Like here, from fairest creature, we desire increase, that their beauty's rose might never die. Who can read it? From there, from fair creatures we desire increase, that their beauty's rose might never die. See? Titam, titam. So try like to read it according to them. From fairest creatures we desire increase, that their beauty's rose might never die. So it is measured, very musical. As I told you, if we talk in iambic pentameter, we'll be funny. For example, please, when you come to my class, write your report. It's like this, you know. Titam, titam, titam. So another example, this is, you know, tetrameter. Tetrameter, sorry. This is iambic trimeter, 3. It is the evening hour, how silent all doth lie. It is the evening hour, how silent all doth lie. See? This is iambic trimeter. Then we have tetrameter. This is like trochee. He's I think it is in the other side. The iambic tetrameter, it's a poem we are going to study. Okay, just like. Is it clear? Okay. This is, trochee, but I'm just like, I want to give you an example of iambic tetrameter. It's like in Marlowe's, the nymph reply, come live with me and be my love. It is, come live with me and be my love. It is 8 syllables, and it is called iambic pentameter. This is trochee tetrameter. Come, trochee, we said it's the opposite. Come my, what is the stress? The first one. Come my, Celia, let us prove while we may the sports of love. It's like trochee. And how many syllables do you have? You have, 6 here, as you see. Tetra, because we have 6 syllables. No, tetrameter, 8, in fact. Come my, this is 2. Celia, 2. 2, so we have 8. 8 syllables, because each foot is like 2 syllables. So this is called trochee. Dactyl, tetrameter, like this one, women much missed how you call to me, saying that you are not as you were. Okay? So this is, and all these are examples of the meters. Just like look at them, and see the stress, where the stress. So it is very important that to know them. And in this course, we might look at the rhythm in some poems, because sometimes the rhythm might have something to do with poetry. Good. This is like generally about rhythm and, rhyme and rhythm. We'll go back to the critical plan. Yes? No, I mean, it is up to the purpose, like how he sees. Sometimes certain words, do not fit with the rhyme. But poets want to be regular. Like, I know some, some students of mine, write poetry by using, the rhythm. They go study rhythm and they write poetry, Even they are not native speakers, but they still, a student of mine, even he's like Tawjihi, said, I wrote a poem in Anabast, which was very surprising to me. So yes, they, choose. Sometimes, like, they variate. Sometimes they are systematic. It is according, like, to, the purpose they want to establish. Yes, sir. Yes.
Show us
40 love middle-aged couple. Yes.
It's completely different from the English style.
Yes.
So it's doesn't fit with the rhythm that.
Yeah, that.
Try to follow.
Yeah, but no. 40 love. Yeah, 2 syllables. Like, we have 2 syllables in each one. 40 love. It's like iambic. All of it. It is iambic diameter. 40 love, middle-aged couple playing tennis. It's iambic, pentameter. Yeah, that was, at the beginning of the course, I gave you 2 poems, like, which are modern. Sometimes some poets do not follow rhyme at all. And this is called free verse. They do not follow rhyme. And sometimes they vary it with rhythm. See? But those poems I gave you at the beginning of the course were like, just like very modern or very postmodern, in which the poets did not, commit themselves to the tradition of English poetry. Okay. If you remember last time, I gave you, like, quickly at the end of the lecture, the leveler. And the part 2 of the critical plan was discussing some areas we, as readers, we might face when we read a poem. And as you see, like, the first area, was like, we don't have to be very hasty. Some people are hasty. This is part 2. It's meaning, intention, and idea. And like here, as you see, we are strongly advised like these are areas: gaining balanced development of the theme, maintaining the total experience of the poem, and judging the poem on the basis of the poet's intention. We said, gaining a balanced development of the theme. We do not have to base our judgment on one part of the poem. We have to follow or to read the entire poem and to test, this theme. Is it like, does it fit with the whole poem or not? So we don't have to be very hasty. And we gave you the example of the Deliverer, which, was similar to the example of the poem, Who's Lost to Hunt, if you remember. So this is an area we should be careful. And of course, we cannot, say what is the poem about unless we read it several times. The second problem area, like here, as you say, we have to maintain the total experience. And here, the second area is called, the total meaning and the prose meaning. There is something called the prose meaning and the total meaning. What is the difference between the prose meaning and the total meaning? The prose meaning of the poem means the dictionary meaning. It is the paraphrase. So, if you say, spring has, bloomed, and everything is beautiful. You are paraphrasing. But when you link this description with experience, you are talking about the total experience. So the total experience is different from, the prose meaning. The prose meaning. This is the leveler we read last time, and I wish like you look at it again. It's a very interesting poem, and we saw how sarcastic the poet was. Mainly here in the last two stanzas, when he said, old Surgeon Smith, kindest of man, wrote out 2 copies there and then of his accustomed speech to cheer the women folk of each. He died a hero's death, and here we saw like how sarcastic the poet was, how he cynical he was. He didn't believe in the idea of heroism. The second area, like this is like, do not give a hasty judgment. Okay. This is the second problem, to understand the poet's thoughts and emotions. Now, yes, we have to understand the poet's thoughts and the emotion. And in order to understand this, we have to be open. Now, sometimes we might not like, or we might find a poem difficult. Some words are difficult, and we say, damn, I'm not going to read this poem. This is not good. Okay? You have to be sympathetic. At least while you are reading the poem, you have to be, because you won't have access to the experience, to the total experience of the poet unless you are sympathetic. You have to understand. You have to live the experience of the poet in order to appreciate, the poem. And as you see, sometimes we don't have to judge the poem according to our initial feeling. And we here, be sure you go to the author to get his meaning, not to find yours. Sometimes we are blinded by, like certain idea in our mind, and we keep developing this and forget what the poem is about. So I think this is something we have to be cautious of. As you see here, the meaning of the poem is the experience it expresses. It is the experience. So this is the meaning. What kind of experience? Is it experience of happiness, sadness, frustration? So this is, the meaning of the poem. It is not the prose meaning of the poem. It is not the paraphrase of the poem. Okay, you just go read this part, because sometimes we might be worried, like the meaning or the poem has no ideas. It discusses no ideas. And we say, why? Sometimes we have a poem which is meaningful because it is only a description. And this description records the experience. And if you see here, you have a poem, The Eagle. The Eagle is an example. Here, it's a description of an eagle which goes up high and then comes down as a thunder, bolt. Like, look here. This is the eagle. It's a description. He clasped the crag with crooked hands, close to the sun in lonely lands, ringed with the azure word he stands. The wrinkled sea beneath him crawls. He watches from his mountain walls, and like thunder ball he falls. It's a description of, eagle. This poem was written by Tennyson. Tennyson was a Victorian poet. And, in the Victorian time, the world was changing. People started to lose certainty about, no social patterns, like laissez-faire, or, like there was corruption, utilitarianism, materialism was governing everything. So the sense of society, the social patterns, vanished. And in fact, even like religion, the religious values retreated and retreated. And here the poet, what is the experience of the poet exactly? He looked at the eagle. The eagle had the power to go up, to leave this land, to go and come down, while the poet himself was mentally, psychologically entrapped. So he was looking at this, bird with some feeling of envy. He was trapped, but look at this. He clasped the crag with the crooked hands. Look how he admires it. Close to the sun in lowly lands, ringed with azure. He envies the freedom of this creature. The wrinkled sea beneath. Look at him, how powerful. Him crawls. He watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt, he falls. So here, okay, the description is wonderful. We might look, at this for more aesthetic consideration. But as you see here, the experience of the poet was like he was not like, he didn't have the ability to leave, because psychologically, mentally, he was trapped. His age was like an age of corruption, an age of materialism. So people felt they were trapped, they could go nowhere. And here, he's just looking at this eagle who's having that ability to escape, to escape, not like the poet. I think, today, this is enough for today. I'm giving chance to other classes to catch up. Next time, as I said, you have to bring like, your response to Sydney and Spencer. Spencer to his, there is a sonnet for Spencer. So, but we are going to discuss first Sydney and then Spencer. Okay? Thank you very much.